What's up, my archfiends of chaos? This is your king and knight, Vincent Valentine, EX Turk.
Subscribe to Vincent Valentine EX Turk channel.
What's going on? It's your king and the knight, Vincent Valentine EX Turk, and we're here with a new video. This is actually for Final Fantasy 9. Since I've done too much 7, Kingdom Hearts, and 15, I think I should get to doing other ones too. And I also enjoyed 9, but there's also something that just boggles my mind. That since Final Fantasy 1 and 9 are connected, I think it's part of the same world. But so many years and time has passed. First of all, we got Old Man Garland. No joke intended, but we got Old Man Garland, and we got the Archfiends of Chaos as optional bosses. So could this possibly end up being one of the towns once existed? Was Cornelia later on turned into Rainy Rat Town? And first of all, if you look at the structures, they look kind of the same, which you'll see in the thumbnail. Both structures look kind of the same, except Rainy Rat Town's broken down and is ruins, and it's ruins that always rains. So with all the ruins that always rains and on the ruins, it would make sense that it would be the same place if it's in the same universe. And again, I know it sounds crazy to some people, but Final Fantasy X is actually kind of a precursor and prequel to 7. I know it sounds crazy, but as an ultimate fan as I am, I had to bring that out. And 1 is actually before 9. So it could be possible that Cornelia later on turned to Rainy Rat Town. And I think Rainy Rat Town was built a little bit over Cornelia, and then it was used for a while, then something happened to it. A disaster. Either the Bahamut meteor or some other disasters hit that town years before the original game. Years before, Zidane joined a sky pirate crew. So, something had happened to Rainy Rat Town. And it looks too similar. It looks too similar to Cornelia. Not to mention, it's the first battle site of Beatrix and Zidane, as well as Kuja's iconic turn on the catwalk. But no, seriously, when he walks away after looking at your pathetic bodies of being defeated by Beatrix as well. So this is an iconic spot. And in Final Fantasy 1, the only iconic spot that people recognize from Final Fantasy 1 is Cornelia. Besides the Chaos Shrine, Cornelia is also recognized by not just the fans, but by gamers alike as a landmark. And then not to mention, if you look at Cornelia, there's a whole bunch of trees around that island. And in Rainy Rat Town, it's surrounded by trees. Of course, there's 2 other cities too, so one of them could have been Cornelia, or one of them could have been something else. But who knows? Again, this is only a fan theory after all. But I think it's hugely possible. That it could be a possible thing between the 2 places. The two places actually make a whole bunch of sense together because they look similar. They're both covered by trees. They're both iconic places from their perspective games. So, you know, I don't know how it can't be seen. And Final Fantasy 1 is connected to 9. If Final Fantasy 1 is connected to 9, I'm pretty sure locations would also be the same too. As if you look at Final Fantasy 7, you know, Midgar looks like Xanarkin. And I know this sounds crazy. I know I'm going and pushing too far, but lately I lost my sanity anyways. According to the trolls and haters, I lost my sanity anyway, so, you know, there's no way to reason with me. I am the beast! But no, in all seriousness though, I think the two places are connected. I think Rainy Rat Town is a ruin, or at least maybe Cornelia was actually bigger than the original game had it be. So maybe it was one whole town that got divided into 3 things years later on. You know, because the whole town turned to ruins. So there's only 3 out of the ruins. They built 3 towns from the remains of ruins of Cornelia. Since you see trees around the trees around it. And remember, there's not a Final Fantasy 1 remake. Besides, you know, the other ports. That's why I call it. But there's no Final Fantasy 1 3D remake. Because if there was, I'm pretty sure there'd be more details on the town of Cornelia. And Cornelia would have more, more town skirts. I could picture Cornelia being just like Zelda Twilight Princess's Hyrule Castle town. So it'd be pretty much bigger than a normal town. So maybe it could be possible whatever disasters hit Cornelia and divided Rainy Rat Town from the other 2 towns that you see in that one area. I think it's possible. It got divided. The ruins became towns themselves. Small towns. With the biggest town being Rainy Rat Town. You know, and not only that, there's always imagery in Final Fantasy games. There's always imagery in any Final Fantasy game. There's, you can find any imagery and really take a look at it. Okay, for 1 minute, go look up on Google, Xanarkin City. Go type in after you get rid of the Final Fantasy X Xanarkin, go look at the Final Fantasy VII Midgar, and put them together. Besides coloration, stuff like that, they reuse the same models on some of their stuff. And it would make sense if they connected the Final Fantasy games to one. And maybe there's some parts of tactics that are in Final Fantasy 12, some towns or anything like that. Remember, even if Final Fantasy games are in the same universes, you gotta remember they're at least 100 or they're at least 1,000 years apart, at least. Up to 100 to 1,000 or 4,000, 5,000 years apart. As you know, when the Fabula Crystallis Novia was still going on, which it still is in my head, so you can't convince me. You know, each game was like 5,000 years apart. Type 0 was 5,000 years from 13, and then 13 was 5,000 years from before 15, which was versus 13. So, whatever was left over, or even if they didn't intend that to be what it is, you got to also look at the fact that they use some of the same concept art for some of the stuff. Not just characters, but towns. If you really take a look at it, it's an esoteric sound to say that these games are actually connected, but not in the way where all of it's connected. Unless you believe and praise the gods that believe in the Decidiaverse, which, in my opinion, the Decidiaverse makes more sense to me than anything else. But if you believe the canon that's not of Decidia, then, only one game is connected to the other. So, I think during production time, I think it's 100% possibility that, Final Fantasy 1's Cornelia has became Rainy Rat Town and the other 2 towns right next to it. And that's my fan theory today, and may the crystal be with you. Like, subscribe, and share.